A revolution is a change in the way a country is governed, usually to a different political system and often using violence or war. The majority of revolutions can be defined using this description. However, a revolutionary leader whom this description does not apply to is Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi led India to achieve home rule or independence. He was the catalyst of a domino effect towards the cause of fighting oppressive leaderships with non-violent means. Gandhi fought against the British Empire. He fought against racial discrimination, religious segregation, all for the independence of India. Gandhi led numerous of non-violent movements of civil disobedience and boycotting in order to fight against the British Empire. His movements, works, and philosophies and speeches inspired thousands, not only in his country, but all across the world. First, they ignore you, then they ridicule you, then they fight you, and then you win. Gandhi was a leading figure for India to achieve independence from the British Empire. Mohandas Gandhi was born into a middle-class family. His father was a politician and his mother was a deeply religious woman. His father pushed him to pursue law, and his mother kept him humble and influenced his religious life along with his dietary life, which was vegetarian, and later in his life he became vegan. Gandhi believed that how a man treated an animal was supremacy over the lower animals meant that the former should prey upon the latter, but that the higher should protect the lower. Therefore, how a man treated an animal would be how a man treated a man. It can be said that his lifestyle was one of the many morals that impacted how he lived his life, and his views towards humanity. Along with his religious background, which was mainly Hindu and Jainism, but as Gandhi traveled, he found other religions, such as Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, and others. He enjoyed reading religious texts and learning about God, for he believed that God had no religion, and that all gods were interconnected. Gandhi had his awakening against oppression for the first time on a train ride where he was forcibly removed from first class due to his skin color, and this is how he started to become a leader. Gandhi never willingly placed himself in the spotlight. However, when injustice appeared, he would be the first to speak out against it or act against it. Be the change that you want to see in the world. Gandhi did not simply say this, but he lived by this. In 1918, the Champaran and Quetta movement was led by him to boycott and be civil disobedient against the British landlords who imposed taxes on Indian farmers and controlled their prices of their products. 1919, the Khilafat movement was his attempt to close the gap between Hindus and Muslims by speaking to them, but as the years unfolded, the gap became worse. And when India split into India and Pakistan in the late 1947, it worsened the war between Hindus and Muslims, because it was no longer just about religion, but as land as well. Gandhi, in the last year of his life, tried to bring peace between the two through fasts and prayers. However, his influence was not enough to create peace, but it was enough to aid India to reach independence. Gandhi and his spinning wheel became the symbol of the independence of India. He dedicated his life to living off Indian products, and he handmade his clothes himself using the spinning wheel. He did not believe in buying British products, and in 1921, the non-cooperation movement, led by Gandhi, was boycotting British goods and services, as well as starting Indian-owned self-governing parties. Gandhi used the Civil Disobedience Act in order to put British stores under economic pressure, and in order to give back value to Indian products. Gandhi's movements allowed India to gain back power through civil disobedience and began to place strain on the British Empire as they started to lose control over India. However, the most significant movement of all was the salt movement. After the British Empire forbid Indians, mainly the poor ones, from harvesting salt and imposing large taxes on buying salt, Gandhi decided that he would walk 309 kilometers to the sea to collect salt himself as an act of civil disobedience. This movement was the most significant during Gandhi's fight to achieve India's independence. He commenced this walk with the purpose to disobey law. As a lawyer, he knew what the consequence would be. However, from his previous experience and multiple arrests, he knew that the British authorities would not hesitate to arrest him once again. However, a part of Gandhi knew that being jailed was not an awful thing, or a negative thing, but a powerful thing, for it gave power to the people, for the more he was arrested, the more power Indians would have, and that the British authorities were beginning to fear him and the power he was giving back to his people. During the salt movement, thousands joined him, and this single act accumulated to a total of 60,000 people committing civil disobedient acts against the British Empire all throughout of India. From peaceful protests to boycotts, to all whom joined Gandhi in this walk, American journalist Webb Miller filmed some of these civil disobedient acts, causing India to have a spotlight as the world watched. Gandhi walked along the seashore and harvested salt before he was arrested by the authorities. However, the salt movement was a turning point for India because of how much global spotlight India received. Gandhi received the Man of the Year award. The media showed the injustice that the British Empire was causing in India and forced the British authorities to fall under pressure from local and global pressures. A year later, the law was abolished. Gandhi would live a life where he would be arrested multiple times due to his boycotts and civil disobedient acts, spending years in prison. But his influence, even though he was in prison, never lost his power. If anything, it grew stronger each year, each decade, and all of his peaceful movements led India to gain independence in 1948. Gandhi's influence was the catalyst for India to achieve Indian independence. Gandhi's influence and his satyagraha not only achieved India the independence that it needed, but it continued to influence the world long after his assassination. Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the political leaders who achieved this revolution through non-violent means and civil disobedience like Gandhi. The train ride awoke Gandhi, but the bus trip awoke Martin Luther King Jr. When he started to fight against racial discrimination after university, he had not yet come across Gandhi. However, during one of his theological seminars, his professor had come back from India, and he mentioned Gandhi and advised Dr. King to read Gandhi's works. At that point, I became deeply influenced by Gandhi, never realizing that I would live in situations where it would be useful to me. Dr. King was deeply religious, and he believed that Gandhi was a God's tool whom gave everyone the methods to fight oppression without striking a blow. Martin Luther King Jr., like Gandhi, lived a short life, but a short life that created one of the most famous speeches, and it can be said with solid evidence from multiple sources that Martin Luther King achieved his revolutionary movement by allowing himself to be influenced by Gandhi. There is something about the method that has the power. He spoke in an interview regarding Gandhi's method and oppressive authorities. They know how to handle violence, but they do not know how to handle non-violence. Gandhi's teachings were the guiding light of our techniques in non-violent social change. Martin Luther King knew that the revolution that Gandhi caused in India was how he was going to cause a revolution in America. Gandhi not only influenced political figures but also the common audiences. In 1930, Gandhi met with Charlie Chaplin, a silent actor who connected to his audience without even needing to speak. However, when Chaplin met Gandhi, he did not ask about peace or his movement. Chaplin asked the following: "Why do you oppose machines?" Which Gandhi responded, "I am not against machines. Today we are slaves because we cannot overcome our attraction for your goods." Gandhi was talking about consumerism and how he was the face of Indian independence with his spinning wheel, not because of machines. 10 years after this meeting, which was the first glimpse that may have seemed irrelevant, Charlie Chaplin released his first film where he spoke, delivering one of the most memorable speeches given on a screen at that time. The film was called The Dictator. This film was released after World War II, and in this speech, Chaplin stated, "Don't give yourself to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts." This was the first obvious connection that Chaplin was influenced by Gandhi. However, Gandhi was a spokesman person for equality and love, about words becoming actions and actions becoming consequences, and Chaplin spoke, "More than machinery, we need humanity. Without these equalities, life will be violent and all will be lost." He spoke about the need for humans to be humane and kind and good, and for people to look after people, not allowing machines and violence to take over what is humanity. Much of what Gandhi preached about in his life, once more connecting his immortal, non-violent movement to affect others. Mohandas Gandhi was assassinated in 1947. However, as the name given to him, Mahatma, the great soul, his soul and his vision for humanity lived on through his written works and his movements that marked history. During the Salt movement, he was named the Man of the Year, and his non-violent practices and civil disobedience influenced Martin Luther King to follow in his footsteps and influenced a racist America to wake up to injustice and rise against it. Without intention, Gandhi influenced one of the greatest silent actors to finally speak out against how machinery is taking over humanity, and violence is taking over humanity as well. His Satyagraha movement achieved India's independence, and after his assassination, the soul of Mahatma Gandhi continues to live on. The name Gandhi still holds an unforgettable and immortal message. An eye for an eye will leave the world blind.